What is going on, YouTube? Just helping you out here. And in this video, I am going to be building the mission models contained in Bag 2 for the FLL Superpowered 2022-2023 game. Contained in this bag is the oil platform, and in order to successfully build it, you are going to need these 3 bags labeled number 2 right here. You will also be needing these 3 unlabeled bags and 3 of these large black frames. Alright, let's get into the build, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, so first up, you're going to be needing 3 black pins and a size 15 yellow beam. You know the beam is size 15 because it has 15 holes. And what you are going to do is you're going to insert one of those pins in this end hole right here. Then you are going to skip 3 holes and insert another one. And then the last pin will go at the end. Now you'll be needing this small yellow frame, and you are going to insert the 2 holes of the short side of this frame onto these 2 black pins right here. Similarly to the very first step, you will be needing 3 black pins and a size 15 yellow beam. And you are going to insert the pins in the exact same holes, one at the end. You're going to skip 3 holes, insert one right here, and then finally the last one goes in the end. And now you are going to insert the 2 holes on the other short side of that frame onto these 2 black pins right here. Now you'll be needing 3 long pins, 1 of them tan and 2 of them blue. Now the first thing that you want to do is insert the long end of these blue pins into this hole right here and this hole right here, but you want to make sure that you only insert them halfway. You don't want them to go all the way through. So just like that, and then you're going to do the exact same thing with the tan pin, except you're going to put it in this hole right here. And now I'm going to set this piece off to the side for now. Now you'll be needing one of those gray H pieces and 2 long blue pins. And what you want to do is insert the short side of these 2 blue pins into these 2 top holes of this H. Now you'll be needing 2 of these size 15 black beams that have holes on both faces. And what you want to do is insert the end hole of these beams onto this pin and this pin. And when you do that, those black beams should be facing up. Now you'll be needing another gray H, and you are going to insert the top 2 holes of that H onto these 2 blue pins right here. Now you can pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is you want to slide this piece into here so we can then press in these 3 pins. And when you do that, you want to make sure the pins go into these middle holes, not the bottom holes. And now you can go ahead and set this whole thing off to the side. Now you'll be needing a long blue pin, a black pin, and one of those size 15 black beams with the holes on both faces. And what you want to do is you want to insert the black pin right here, so the second hole from the end. And now you want to insert the long end of this blue pin from behind into the 4th hole from the end of this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll be needing a size 15 yellow beam. And you want this blue pin to be inserted into the third hole from this end, and the black pin to be inserted third hole from this end. Now you'll be needing 2 of those yellow elbows and 4 of those size 3 gray axles. You know the axles are size 3 because if you hold a beam up to them, you'll see they span 3 holes, making them a size 3 axle. And what you are going to do is just insert each of those axles into the axle holes of the elbows. So you should have these 2 identical pieces. And now inserting from the bottom, you're going to insert these gray axles into this hole and this hole. Now you'll be needing 2 more of those size 3 gray axles and 2 yellow elbows. And now this time you're going to insert the gray axle into one of the axle holes of each elbow. So you should have these 2 identical pieces. And now the other axle hole of these pieces is going to go onto this axle and this axle. You just want to make sure that this axle and the axle that's sticking out of these pieces are in the same direction. So I'll show you that once I do it. And now you can see that both of these axles are facing the same direction, and both of these axles are facing the same direction. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is insert these 2 gray axles right here into these 2 top holes right here, and then these other 2 gray axles will go into their corresponding holes. Now a couple things to point out so you know you did this correctly. This yellow beam should be on the inside of this right here, and this blue pin should be right here facing that way. And now you can set this whole thing off to the side. Now you'll be needing 2 black pins and a size 11 black beam with holes on both faces. And now you're going to insert those black pins on the second hole from the end on both sides. Now you'll be needing a size 13 light gray beam. And now you're going to insert the third hole from either side onto these 2 pins. Now you'll be needing 2 size 3 gray axles and 2 yellow elbows. And you're going to insert the axles into one hole on either elbow. So you should have 2 identical pieces. And now you're going to insert those 2 gray axles from behind into the 2 end holes of this black beam. Now you'll be needing 2 more yellow elbows. And you are again going to insert those onto these 2 gray axles, but you want to make sure that the other hole is facing the same direction as this hole. So again, you'll see that these 2 holes and these 2 holes are facing the same direction. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And what you want to do is insert these 4 axle holes onto these 4 gray axles right here. And again, if you did that correctly, this gray beam should be on the inside of this square. Now you'll be needing 4 long blue pins, and you are going to insert the short side of those blue pins into these 4 holes right here. Now you'll be needing 2 of these yellow L's, and you are going to insert the long side of these L's onto these 2 pins and these 2 pins. Just be very careful of the orientation. So you'll see here the long side of both L's are on these 2 pins and these 2 pins, and then be mindful that the short side of this L is here and the short side of this L is here. Now you'll be needing 2 more of those yellow L's. And you are again going to insert these on the same 4 pins, except the long side of each L is going to go onto these 2 pins and these 2 pins. So once again, you'll see long side of the L on these 2 pins and these 2 pins, and be mindful that the short side of this L is here and the short side of that L is there. And now you can go ahead and put this entire piece off to the side. Now you'll be needing one of those size 2 gray beams with a beam hole and axle hole, a long blue pin, and a size 13 light gray beam. And the first thing you are going to do is insert the long end of this blue pin all the way through this beam hole right here on this size 2 gray beam. And then you are going to insert this blue pin into the second hole of this light gray beam such that the 2 beams align at their ends. Now you'll be needing 2 long blue pins and a size 11 gray beam. And the first thing you are going to do is insert the short end of these blue pins into this end hole right here and this hole right next to the other gray beam. Just like that. And then you're going to take this size 11 gray beam and insert it onto these 2 pins right here. Now you'll be needing a size 13 light gray beam, and you are going to insert that onto these 3 blue pins such that it aligns with the other 2 layers of beams. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is you want to insert this end hole right here that's next to this size 2 gray beam onto this tan pin we put in earlier. And now you can set this whole piece off to the side. Now you'll be needing one of those large black frames and 4 of those pins that have an axle hole on top. And what you are going to do is you're going to insert one of those pins into each of the 4 corners all the way through. Now you'll be needing 2 of those blue pieces, this part pin and part axle, and 4 of those black pins. Now the first thing you want to do is flip this upside down so your 4 gray pins are facing up. Now what you want to do is insert each of these black pins in the hole next to these gray pins on the long sides. And now you want to take the pin part of these blue pieces and insert one right here and one right here. Now you'll be needing 4 of these yellow plates, and you are going to insert each of these vertically onto these 2 pins in each corner. Now you'll be needing 3 black pins, and you are going to insert one of those into each of these 3 corner holes. Now you'll be needing another large black frame and 4 black pins. And these pins are going to be inserted into both long sides of this black frame in the 2 middle holes. Now you'll be needing 2 yellow plates, and you are going to insert those vertically onto these 2 pins and these 2 pins. And now you're going to take this piece you just made and you're going to flip it over onto these 3 black pins such that the 2 black frames align with each other. Now you'll be needing a blue piece that's part pin and part axle, a long red piece that's part pin and part axle, and that black piece with both beam and axle holes. And what you want to do is you want to insert the axle part of this red piece into this hole here, and then the axle part of the blue piece into this hole right here. And now you want to insert that into these 2 holes right here, such that the red piece goes in this corner hole. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is you want to attach this piece we just made to these 3 blue pins right here. And so how we're going to do that is you're going to just slide this over like this. And then you want the blue pins to go into these 3 holes right here. And so a good check to make sure that you did that right is this blue pin right here should be right in the center of this yellow plate right here. And now you can go ahead and set this whole piece off to the side. Now you'll be needing a large black frame, 6 black pins, and 4 long blue pins. The black pins are going to be inserted in this hole, and this hole on both long sides. And then the short side of these blue pins are going to be inserted into this hole and this hole on both sides. Now you'll be needing 2 size 13 blue beams and 4 black pins. And you're going to insert a black pin in both of the end holes of the 2 beams. So you should have 2 identical pieces. And now what you want to do is you want to insert these pieces on the inside of this frame, so this hole and this hole on both sides. Now you'll be needing these gray beams. One of them is size 11 and 4 of them are size 5. First, you are going to put the size 11 beam across this pin and this pin. Then you're going to put 2 of the size 5 ones on these 2 pins and these 2 pins. And finally, the last 2 will go on the blue pins, but you want to make sure that these beams are centered. So if I put this one on, you'll see that there's a hole on either side of those 2 pins. Now you'll be needing 2 size 5 gray beams, 4 long blue pins, and 2 of those gray plates. Now, one quick thing that I want to mention about these plates is that they do have a top and a bottom. You'll see here, this is the top, it's mostly flat, but if you flip it over, you'll see it kind of has a hole in the middle here, and that's how you know this is the bottom. So what you want to do is you want to take the short end of these blue pins and insert them into these 2 end holes right here. And then you want to take a size 5 beam and center it onto these 2 pins. And if you center it correctly, you'll have an open hole on either side of those pins, and you need to make 2 of these. So you should have 2 pieces that look like this. So now you want to insert these onto these 2 pins and these 2 pins, but you want to be careful of the orientation. You want the bottoms of these plates to be facing each other. So just like this. So here you'll see we have the bottom of the plate here, bottom of the plate here, so they're facing each other. And now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is you want to insert these 2 blue pins from under into this black frame right here. Do that on both sides. And if you did that correctly, you'll notice that this gray beam right here sits in between these 2 yellow beams. And you will also notice that these 2 black frames do not align with this black frame down here. And now you can go ahead and set this whole thing off to the side. Now you'll be needing a medium-sized black frame and 4 long blue pins. And what you are going to do is insert the short side of those blue pins into the 2 middle holes on each short side of this black frame. Now you'll be needing 4 black pins and 2 size 5 blue beams. And now you're going to insert those black pins into the 2 end holes of each beam. So you should have these 2 identical pieces. And you are going to insert those onto the inside of this black frame, one right here and one right here. Now you'll be needing 4 black pins and 2 size 5 gray beams. And the first thing you are going to do is insert those gray beams onto these 2 pins and these 2 pins, but make sure that they're centered. So you should have an open hole on either side of these pins, and it will align with this blue beam right here. And then you're going to insert the black pins into these 2 middle holes right here, and then these 2 holes right here. Now you'll be needing a size 5 gray beam, and you are going to attach that to these two black pins. Now you'll be needing two black pins and a gray plate. And the first thing you are going to do is insert this gray plate onto these two pins right here. You just want to make sure that these two holes are aligned with these holes right here. So if I do this, you'll see these holes align with these holes, and they should be facing in this direction. And now we're going to take those two black pins, and you're going to insert one into this hole and one into this hole. Now you'll be needing 4 long blue pins, 2 size 5 gray beams, and 2 of those gray plates. Now on each of these gray plates, you want to insert the short side of these blue pins into this hole and this hole. And then you want to take that size 5 gray beam and center it onto these two pins. So it should look like this, and you will need to make another one. So you should have 2 identical pieces. And now you are going to attach these ends of these pieces you just made onto these two pins and these two pins. But again, you want to make sure that the bottom of these plates are facing each other. So again, here you'll see bottom of the plate, they're facing each other. Now you'll be needing 2 size 11 gray beams, and you are going to insert the end hole onto this black pin and this black pin. And you want those beams to be pointed upwards. Now you'll be needing 2 long blue pins and a size 3 gray beam. And the first thing you are going to do is insert the short side of those blue pins into the 2 end holes of this gray beam. And now you're going to insert those 2 blue pins all the way through these 2 holes. Now you can go ahead and set this piece off to the side. Now you'll be needing a black pin, a long blue pin, and a size 5 gray beam. And what you're going to do is you're going to insert the black pin into this end hole right here. And then you're going to insert the long side of this blue pin from behind all the way through this middle hole. Now you'll be needing a black pin and a yellow plate. And the first thing you're going to do is insert these 2 end holes onto these 2 pins right here. And then you're going to take that black pin and insert it into this hole right here. Now you'll be needing those 2 red pieces that are part pin and part axle, a black pin, and one of those yellow pieces that has 2 axle holes and a beam hole. And the first thing you want to do is insert that black pin into this hole right here. And then you're going to take the axle part of these red pieces and insert them into the axle holes of the yellow piece. And now finally, you're going to insert this red pin into this end hole right here. You just want to make sure that this black pin is pointed upwards. Now you'll be needing a size 5 gray beam and a long blue pin. And the first thing you're going to do is insert this gray beam onto these 2 pins right here. And then you're going to take the long end of this blue pin and insert it all the way through this middle hole. Now you'll be needing 2 black pins and 2 of those yellow plates. And the first thing you're going to do is insert one of those yellow plates onto these 2 pins and these 2 pins. And then you want to take those 2 black pins and insert one into this hole and one into this hole. Now you'll be needing one of those yellow pieces that has a beam hole and a pin, and one of those size 11 red beams. And the first thing you want to do is insert that red beam onto these 3 pins right here, making sure that it's centered. So you should have an open hole on either side. And then you want to take this yellow piece and insert the pin into this hole right here. Just make sure that when you do that, the beam hole is horizontal like this. Now you'll be needing 2 long tan pins and a size 7 yellow beam. And you are going to insert the short side of those tan pins into the 2 end holes of this yellow beam. And now you are going to insert this tan pin right here from the left side all the way through this beam hole right here. Now you can set this piece off to the side. Now you'll be needing one of those small red axles, one of those tan pieces that's part pin and part axle, and one of those gray pieces with an axle hole in each end. And what you want to do is insert the axle part of this tan piece into this side of the gray piece, and then you're going to insert the red axle into the other side. Now you'll be needing a size 3 gray axle, 2 of those gray pieces that have an axle hole in each end, and a small yellow L. First thing you want to do is take one of these gray pieces and insert that onto the red axle. Then you're going to take the small gray axle and insert that into the gray piece. Then you're going to insert the axle hole of this yellow L onto the axle. You just want to make sure that the short side of that L is pointing up. And then you're going to take the last gray piece and insert that onto the other end of that gray axle. Now you'll be needing a size 4 black axle and one of those medium-sized black frames. And the first thing you want to do is insert this pin right here into this hole right here. And now you're going to take this black axle and you're going to put it through this hole and into this gray piece right here. Now you'll be needing a size 5 gray beam and 2 black pins. And you're going to insert those black pins into the 2 end holes of this gray beam. And then you're going to insert those 2 black pins into this hole and this hole. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is you want to insert this tan pin right here into the corner hole of this L right here. So you're going to feed it through this black frame right here and then insert it onto that pin all the way through. Now you'll be needing one of these size 7 yellow beams. And you are going to attach that to these 2 tan pins right here. Now you'll be needing 2 of those size 3 gray axles and one of those bent yellow beams. And now what you want to do is you want to insert those axles into these 2 axle holes. Just make sure that they go to the other side and not any further. And now you want to insert this gray axle through this hole right here. Just make sure the other part of this piece is faced that way. Now you'll be needing a size 10 black axle and one of those yellow pieces with a beam hole and axle hole. And the first thing you're going to do is insert that axle into this axle hole. And then you want to insert this axle through this beam hole right here. Now you'll be needing a bent yellow beam, and you are going to attach the 2 axle holes to these two axles right here. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And now what you want to do is you want to insert these two middle holes on the short side of this black frame onto these two blue pins on both sides. But when you do that, you also want these two beams right here to go through this opening right here. So I'm going to thread that opening onto those beams first, like that, and then I will attach those two blue pins on either side. Now you'll be needing two long blue pins and a size 3 gray beam. And what you want to do is insert the short side of these blue pins into the two end holes of this size 3 gray beam. And now you want to insert those two pins all the way through these two holes. Now you can go ahead and pick up this piece I told you to set aside earlier. And what we want to do is we're going to connect these two like this. But what we also need to happen is this black axle right here needs to go through this hole right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to thread that axle through that hole. And now we want the two black pins that are on these yellow beams to go in the second hole from the end. So you'll see right here, second hole from the end, and right here, second hole from the end. Now you'll be needing that size 5 yellow axle and that black fin. And the first thing you're going to do is insert that axle into the axle hole of this fin. You just want to make sure that the flat part of this fin is facing in the same direction as the rest of this axle. And now what we want to do is we want to spin this around. And we want to insert this yellow axle into this hole right here so that it goes into that light gray hole that you see right there. Push that in. And you just want to make sure that this fin is aligned with that gray piece that you see moving around right there. So you see they are pointing in the same direction. Now you'll be needing a yellow stud, one of those yellow bricks with a beam hole, and that flame piece. And what you're going to do is put the stud on top of the brick, and then you're going to insert the flame piece into the top of that stud. Now you'll be needing a long blue pin, a black pin, and a size 11 yellow beam. And the first thing you want to do is insert the long end of this blue pin all the way through this hole right here. And then you want to insert this blue pin into this end hole of this yellow beam. And finally, you want to take that black pin and insert it in the other end hole. And now what you want to do is you want to insert this black pin right here into the back side of this hole right here. Now you'll be needing a black pin and a size 15 yellow beam. And now the first thing you want to do is insert that black pin into this end hole right here. And now you want to take this piece here and you want to insert this black pin into this hole right here. And then once you do that, you should be able to rotate this and connect this end hole right here with this blue pin right here. Now you'll be needing 4 black pins and one of those large black plates. Now with the top of this black plate faced upwards, you want to insert a black pin into this hole and this hole on both sides. Now you'll be needing two of those black pieces that are part pin and part axle, and a size 5 gray beam. And the first thing you want to do is insert the pin part of these black pieces into the long side of this plate, third hole from the left. So 1, 2, 3. And then on the other side, the corresponding hole. And then what you're going to do is take that size 5 gray beam and put it on these two black pins. And then finally, you're going to insert these two black pins into this hole and this hole, such that the top face of this black plate is pointed upwards. This is now the completed oil platform, and it should look just like this. Now, just before we finish up this video, there is one thing that I would like to point out. If we take a look at my small bag labeled number 2, you'll see that we have an extra yellow stud and an extra black pin. If you have something similar, do not be worried. Typically they include extra pieces, usually the smaller ones. In case you happen to lose one, you'll have a spare and it won't be a huge deal. Alright, so this is the completed oil platform, and that is the mission model contained in bag 2. And so that's about it for this build video. Feel free to check out all our other LEGO videos in the playlist in the top left corner. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, leave a comment if you have any questions or an idea for a future video. Feel free to follow my Instagram in the description below. And lastly, please don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about my channel so I can grow and help more of you guys out. I'm just helping you out. See you in the next video.